I convinced myself it was nothing more than a brief getaway, a stolen opportunity to reignite a spark I thought had long since faded. My husband, David, was kind, dependable, and unwavering. Yet our marriage had settled into a pattern of silent meals, exhausting mornings, and conversations that seemed empty of substance. Then Ethan came back into my life. He was someone from my past, carrying promises of excitement, passion, and the adventure I felt I had been missing. The temptation overwhelmed me. I arranged a secret vacation with him and told David I would be spending time with friends instead. Just before boarding the plane, I blocked out David's number, determined not to answer his calls. The days that followed felt intoxicating. There were luxurious dinners, effortless laughter, and stolen kisses that made me feel like a younger, more carefree version of myself. Around Ethan, I left behind the burden of commitment and responsibility, while David remained at home, completely unaware. Every evening, I assured myself that no real harm was being done. I believed I could simply return to my normal life afterward, and that David would never discover the truth. But during the quiet moments, guilt began to surface. I pushed it away by keeping my phone turned off, refusing to read his messages or hear the concern in his voice. For 7 days, I lived inside that fantasy while David sat at home, not knowing where I was or why I had disappeared. When the trip finally ended, relief and dread tangled together inside me. During the flight home, I restored his number, expecting countless missed calls and frantic messages waiting for me. Instead, there was only silence. That silence disturbed me. I tried to convince myself that maybe he was saving his anger for later. When I arrived home, I put on a rehearsed smile, prepared to act as though nothing had happened. But something was wrong. David's shoes were missing from the doorway. His coat no longer hung over the chair. Even the faint trace of his aftershave had disappeared. On the kitchen table sat an envelope with my name written in his familiar handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. "Clara," it began. "I don't know where you went or why you shut me out, but your silence told me more than any explanation ever could. A husband shouldn't have to plead for a place in his wife's life." I waited. I worried. And I realized I deserve better than being excluded. By the time you read this, I'll already be gone. I'm done waiting. Goodbye. The words wounded me more deeply than any argument ever could. My chest tightened. My legs weakened. I sank into a chair. I wanted to call him immediately and tell him he had misunderstood everything. But deep inside, I knew he hadn't. My actions had spoken more clearly than any excuse I could offer. Weeks went by without a single response. He ignored my calls. My messages remained unread. Even the letters I mailed to his family's house came back unopened. It was as if I no longer existed in his life. I had traded loyalty for a moment of excitement and lost everything because of it. Ethan tried to remain part of my life, but I pushed him away. The thrill I had once pursued now felt empty and even disgusting. He had never belonged in my future. David had. But David never came back. He chose himself, and his absence became permanent. The memories that haunted me weren't grand gestures. They were the small things I had always overlooked. The way he kept my car fueled. The way he made coffee before I woke up. The way he quietly watched over me whenever I felt lost. What I once dismissed as ordinary routine revealed itself to be genuine love. I had destroyed the very foundation I believed I wanted to escape. People around me began noticing the difference. They asked why I looked exhausted. They wondered why my wedding ring was gone. I couldn't bring myself to tell the truth. Instead, I simply said that David and I had grown apart. The reality was far more painful. I had broken something priceless, and he had left before I ever had the chance to ask for forgiveness. Months later, the divorce papers arrived. There was no bitterness in them. No demands. No anger. Only quiet finality. He wasn't seeking revenge. He simply wanted freedom. Signing those papers felt like driving the final nail into the coffin of the life we had created together. Sometimes late at night I stare at his name in my phone and wonder if he ever thinks about me. But I know the truth. I will never hear his voice again. never see his gentle smile, never feel the steady comfort of his love. One reckless decision didn't merely damage our marriage. It removed him from my life entirely. I learned the lesson too late. Love isn't built on temporary excitement or fleeting passion. It survives through trust, loyalty, and respect. I forgot that. And because I forgot, I lost the man who once vowed to stand beside me forever. Life continues moving forward, yet my heart remains trapped by the memory of the husband I pushed away, only realizing too late that he had already closed the door behind him.